destination. Darkness is quite near, feeding senses through your ears. And tide is rising, drought is non-existent. Sins are washed away, all the faults that you were facing. Sunset chaser, where's your new location? Searching for a purpose, the truth is making you nervous. And sunlight's waiting, there's a happy ending. Picture perfect skies, does your life have any meaning? Oh darling, don't you cry no more, as the sun will soon shine 1,000 times. Don't you worry, dear, dark clouds will soon clear for you. Daylight saver till the next adventure. Love is all around, but you're focused on your frowning. Rays are burning, achy luminescence, feeling through the gloom, tense and patient for its blooming. Oh darling, don't you cry no more, as the sun will soon shine 1,000 times. Don't you worry, dear, dark clouds will soon clear for you. Darling, don't you cry no more, as the sun will soon shine 1,000 times. Don't you worry, dear, dark clouds will soon clear for you.
Oh, hello, audience. Hello, live streaming audience. Hello, my name is Anderson Lay. I'm the artistic director for the Hawaii International Film Festival. Thank you for coming, or actually attending, virtually attending, Hiff Talks, The Actor's Journey. So we have some special guests here, but I'm going to give you a quick overview of what we're going to discuss today. Although Hawaii's film industry is burgeoning and perhaps more vital than ever as Hollywood's backlot, the drive for the local creative communities is to create original intellectual properties and provide local actors to shine in authentic and artistically relevant roles. In this panel, we discuss the actor's journey in an ever-changing media landscape and the spike TV and film production for major streaming platforms, which seems limitless. The panel will focus on examples of content being created by and about marginalized communities and go into the nitty-gritty of being a BIPOC actor, working in Hollywood and in Hawaii, and how the panelists' careers are changing with the times. So I'd like to introduce our esteemed panel. We actually have one. Actually, we'll start with Kanogu, who's actually basically zooming in from Los Angeles. She's got a gig, so he can't be here.
Congratulations!
Congratulations, by the way.
Yeah, an actor's journey.
Yeah, absolutely. True, an actor's journey. So Kanoa is an actor and writer known for "I Was a Simple Man," which is our centerpiece presentation, and is going to be playing tonight at the Consolidated War Theater here in Honolulu. Also, he's known for "Endings and Beginnings" and "Other People." And Kanoa, welcome.
Thanks so much. I'm so bummed I can't be there, but I also realize this is the one good reason to be missing it. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
working is always good.
Yes.
So we have Amy Hill.
Yes.
You're very much Asian American royalty.
Yes, that's true. That's true. That's true.
I mean, Amy, you're an American actress and stand-up comedian. She's known for often playing grandmother or motherly type roles in both live action and voice roles from
Since
All American.
Like 30.
Yeah, All American Girl, 50 First Dates, Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, and Lilo and Stitch. But currently, she plays Kumu Tualeta and is part of the main cast of Magna PI, currently in its 4th season.
Yeah.
And now you are here full time.
Very grateful.
Basically, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
What a dream.
What a dream, right?
I don't know how lucky I got.
And then next to Amy is Tim Chu, is a Taiwanese American actor who has played a number of television and film roles. He most notably played venture capitalist Ed Chen on season 4 of HBO's Silicon Valley, Michael 30 Mike Chen in SEAL Team, and in films Plus One, Crush the Skull, which you were great in, and also in I Was a Simple Man, which is also playing tonight. Yes. So welcome, Tim. Aloha.
Glad to be here.
You just arrived yesterday or today?
Yesterday.
Oh, yesterday. Okay, so you're all fresh and ready to go.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Look at how fresh he is.
He is always looking fresh. And finally, we have Filipino American and Hawaii born actor Kimi Balmilero, best known for her regular role as medical examiner Dr. Noelani Kunha on CBS's Hawaii Five-0 and Magna PI. While living in Los Angeles, she studied improv and sketch comedy at the Upright Citizen Brigade Theater in Hollywood and performs with the ongoing show Filipino AF whenever she is back in town. And also she is the proprietor of Tiny Stage Hawaii,
That's
which
right.
we're at right now. And we love it.
It's really tiny. Thank you. Thanks for being here,
But
everybody.
look at how big it looks.
It does. Yeah.
So I mean, we're just gonna be just shooting the shit, honestly, about your career and whatnot, your journey, actor's journey. So let me talk about just basically how you guys started. Maybe who's gonna start? I mean, Kanoa, since you're in LA, you go first.
Okay. Okay, so I'm from Oahu, where you guys are, born and raised. I grew up doing a bunch of commercials on the island, which was just the best. Like, I instantly was in love with being on set, and I would get to miss school to shoot a commercial and make a little money, and it was just so fun. And and then at the same time, I started getting involved in the theater community in Hawaii, and so did just like tons of plays and musicals, and it just became my thing. You know, my dad was a coach and was an athlete, and we were all sort of like doing Little League and everything. And as soon as this became my thing, he just was fully supportive, which is amazing. Although he was always annoyed to have to drive me to like rehearsals and stuff. And then I went to, so it was just sort of always my thing growing up. And then I went to college for it. I went to NYU. So I moved to New York. and lived there and studied and trained there. And then sort of when I was graduating, it was the classic kind of question of, do I stay here or do I go to LA? And I was working with a manager at the time who was based in LA, and she was just very influential with getting me there as soon as she could. Like, even though in hindsight, I kind of wish I stayed in New York a little bit longer, to be honest, but I probably would have always ended up in LA. So it happened a bit sooner than I thought, but and then that got me to LA. So yeah, I guess your original question, I feel like I've been like doing this thing for so long, for so many years.
Cool.
Yeah.
Tim, where were you born and raised?
So I was born and raised in Iowa.
Okay.
It's where my parents went to grad school. And then we messed around in Pittsburgh. And then eventually, by the time I was 9, we moved to California. So I grew up in Southern California, ended up at UCLA, and that's where I met a group of people that were in an Asian American theater company called La Puta Coyote That Cares. So part of that company was like Randall Park and Michael Golomko, Hugh Ho, David J. Lee, and we kind of went on to like, yeah,
people you may have heard of, yeah.
We're just kind of doing small things, writing our own shows and putting them on, and doing this like 3 times a year. So Ali Wong, Kristen, a couple of folks came out of there. You might have heard of them. I don't know.
Maybe.
So yeah, but because of that, we were just constantly messing around on stage and trying to be artists. And eventually, after a while, I think a lot of us just were like, I think we're gonna keep doing this after school, and then we just kind of went for it.
Amy.
Well, I used to perform on the front porch for the Italians across the street in Seattle. I just loved what I loved to act. I didn't know there was a thing that you would study, because Seattle doesn't really have an industry. So I thought one day, if I'm really good at this, I might be able to do Seattle rep.
Right.
So I didn't even know, Broadway was something that was in, movies, black and white movies on TV.
Mm-hmm.
So that was something that was not in my range of ideas. And then in high school, I started doing theater, and I had a great drama teacher who was very supportive of me. And so I just went in, and I got, my grand plan was to go to Carnegie Mellon, because that's where Paul Newman went. That's how I think. And but I thought I'll go to Japan for 1 year because I really wanted to travel. And
Right.
I went to university in Tokyo, and then I met a guy. I screwed everything up. So I stayed for like 8 years. I got married to him, but during the time because I had this background in theater, I did a lot of radio and television, and I was an entertainer
In Japan. Wow.
She speaks.
Yeah.
I do. And then I came back, and we ended up in San Francisco, and I started at the Asian American Theater Company. And here's where I name drop.
Boom.
Like at Pig and the Lady, the bathroom is basically an homage to Big Trouble in Little China.
Right.
Dennis Dunn came out of the
Oh,
Asian
of course.
American Theater
Yes.
Company.
Yeah.
Victor Wong came out of the Asian. He also did other stuff too, but he came out of the Asian American Theater Company. I did, and Philip Congo Tanda, David Henry Huang.
Wow.
We had Kelvin Hanyi. I mean, we had really great people. And remember, Charlie Chan is missing.
Chan's missing. Yeah.
Chan is missing. That
Wayne Wang.
A lot of the actors came out of the Asian American Theater Company.
Right.
Yeah, Wayne. Anyway.
Oh, you just call him Wayne.
Yeah. Anyway, so we had the same thing where we just we were having fun. We were young, just exploring everything. It was great. And there's really no industry there either.
Right.
San
Right.
Francisco.
Uh-huh.
So, I was just enjoying improv,
Mm-hmm.
theater, but it's a small town. So I
Right.
decided to leave, not for a career, but just to explore and challenge myself. And I came back down here. And that's
To LA.
To LA.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, not here.
Yeah, you're not in LA.
Not
You're in
here.
Hawaii.
Maybe
Right.
soon,
Right.
Tiny
Yeah,
Stage
yeah,
Los
yeah.
Angeles coming at you in 2024.
Yeah. So I moved to LA and then I joined East West Players.
East West Players, yes.
See, I just keep thinking theater.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Yeah.
No, but that's
Yeah,
what kept
that's
us.
where my joy is
Yeah.
still. And that's where it just sort of unfolds.
I think that's
work
where
happened.
we all. That's all
Yeah.
we had, really.
Right.
That's all we could count on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Got to be really we were able to use every part of our being as performers, as creators, as
Mhm.
whatever. So, then Hollywood took us and said, oh,
Here's a couple bucks.
here's a couple bucks. And we went, okay. But, oftentimes I don't get to be as creative in
Right.
film and television
Right.
as I can in theater. So I still love theater.
And Kimmy,
Yeah.
you started in improv, right? And theater as well.
I did.
Yeah.
Like Kanoa, I'm born and raised here on Oahu from Kaneohe. I'm an only child, so I naturally found performing, I guess, or the thing that found me. But yeah, I started doing musical theater just at the Bright Theater at Castle High School.
So talk
which
about
is-
really quickly about Bright.
yeah,
Theater.
so Ron Bright is our director there. He started this amazing program out in Kaneohe, and yeah, he's just kind of well known. A lot of his students went on to do Broadway. Miss Saigon was like a huge thing because a lot of Asian American actors like got their start through there, including myself. But yeah, Mr. Bright he had a really great gift of just finding he had a really great gift of not only finding talent, but also recognizing kind of energetic kids and kind of how to help us channel that creativity and that energy. So yeah, I was with him since I was 9 doing musical reviews and just really loved it. Like, I'm sure like all of us, I didn't really know that there was a career in it. Like I didn't even take I don't know what I was going to do. I didn't even take my SATs. I was like, I'm just going to go into the hotel industry because I'm in Hawaii. Whatever. Like, that's going to be great. And I'm going to keep working on the Star of Honolulu as a dancer. But no, but because I was part of the Mr. Bright's theater program, it was kind of a thing for us to go and audition for Miss Saigon. So my senior year, I was 17, or I was 16 when I auditioned for Miss Saigon just for fun, and got booked for the national tour 1 month before graduation. So that was kind of like someone just said like, hey, you should do this professionally. And I was like, what? I didn't even know I was getting paid. Like they had to call me to the company management office and be like, Kimmy Bomalero, come pick up your paycheck and per diem. And I was like, we get paid? And everybody was like, she's so irritating. But after that, I did Miss Saigon for 2.5 years. I didn't go to school. Again, my only training was through high school. So after that, because it was such a huge surprise, not only to me, but I think to a lot of people that I booked that, I was like, this is not going. No, honestly, though, I know, but I love that. I was never the lead. I was never the lead in high school or anything. I'm always happy to be an ensemble member, which is why I think I love improv and theater, But after Miss Saigon closed, I was like, this is not going to be my last job. I'm going to get one more job, at least one more job. So instead of going to New York or LA, I actually ended up going to San Francisco because I fell in love with that city in my travels. And I just did Studio ACT for a little while. And I liked training. And I just said, I talked to them over there. So how do I do this more? And one of them gave me, one of the instructors there gave me really great advice. He said, you know what? You've already kind of experienced stuff. Why don't you go out to New York or LA, try it for a little bit. If you still want to come back, then come back. But, once you start doing this stuff, you're really in it, I said, okay, cool. So I went to LA and did the whole thing that new actors do. I mean, we sent out 100,000, well, maybe not 100,000, millions of mailings to agents and such. I was an equity member, thankfully, started doing early morning calls, like literally going in for everything, and then booked the original Broadway cast of Mamma Mia. Maybe 2 months, 2 months after I moved to New York, which is crazy. And I think when we talk about the actor's journey, I worked really hard for that. I was working on trying to just get myself out there, sending mailings, following up. And thankfully my family from Miss Saigon who were experienced, a lot of them from East West actually, kind of guided me towards that. Hey, I know you have a credit technically, but you got to do some stuff, So I did that. And then I started doing a kids show after that that took me to Australia, and then cut to, I guess, 9 years later, kind of just decided to step away from Los Angeles. I was there for a little bit, and back then there wasn't a lot happening for someone like me. So yeah, I just was like, my husband moved home because of a job. I was like, you know what, I'll just move home. Started Improv Hawaii, started Tiny Stage, started Comedy Fest, and then, I mean, I just was stoked, and I don't want to say lucky because yes, we work really hard, but I was ready for the opportunity of 5-0 to come up.
Yeah,
I'll just say that.
Yeah.
And I'm thankful for that opportunity, and it's been wonderful. And I get to hang out with Amy. She takes me as her +1.
I do.
Whenever Brooke Lee says no, and it's really great. Yeah.
So
I have 2 people, Brooke or Kimi.
Kimmy, yeah,
Hey, Brooke, can you go? Okay. Hey, Kimmy.
So I mean, this is a multi-generational.
We are totally this group.
Yeah, yes, exactly. So I mean, like, you know, I think talk about basically, you know, the point of this panel is to talk about kind of the quote unquote marketplace now, right? When it comes to opportunities for, you know, BIPOC actors and whatnot. Do you see, you know, I mean, you know, there's always been movements where, you know, when, like, you know, you have exactly, it's like, oh, we're all about diversity, but it's all very performative, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's an, like, I remember like just kind of like these moments that are very like, is it really happening, or is it just performative and just to appease to, you know, maybe AT&T's going to buy them because of buy some company because of you know, and some kind, they're doing this out of some antitrust thing or something, you know, it's like whatever, to invest in diversity and inclusion, right? But do you see this actually happening now? As like, I mean, Kanoa, I mean, you've been in the game for a while. Everyone's been in the game for a while, but I mean, maybe anyone can just jump in. Do you see actually like an actual inclusion? I mean, the fact that you're Amy and Kimmy, you're on network shows, right, as regulars. So, and also you too, recurring, and you're recurring too. So, talk about kind of like, do you see this like, you know, actual sea change?
I feel like, I don't know if you guys would agree. I mean, and also it's like, I feel like I'm just gonna like learn so much from hearing from someone like Amy talk about her experience, but I feel like there certainly is a shift that I can feel in the last few years, and when I say that, I mean like in terms of the abundance of opportunities that I'm now, I feel like getting just like chances, you know, but I think what you said is totally true. I don't know if the intention is pure. I think that it's still very much just like an overcorrection of trying to do what they feel like they like have to do. A network, you know, the decision makers. I think it's. I don't know if it's the purest of intentions, but at the same time, I'm kind of like, a part of me is like, well, who cares though? It still needs to happen. So it's like if an overcorrection needs to happen right now, then that's just what needs to happen, because if you need to go all the way for then hopefully in some years for it to be a bit more of just like an authentic creative process of casting, you know what I mean? Like a diverse cast. Yeah, I don't know if you guys agree.
I mean, in a way, like, you know, okay, talk about overcorrection, or like, you know, the sense, it just seems like it's so quick. It just seems like, you know, I mean, like, people have been in the game for so long, and it just seems like this is all happening in the last 3 years, or I don't know. I mean, just, you know,
well, particularly since Crazy
Rich Asians.
I mean,
that's like is that the benchmark?
Moment.
That
was a moment in time that shifted a lot of things. But the things that give me hope is the amount of people that are behind the
definitely.
People that are producing.
It's the creatives behind
that are
the decision makers.
You know, and they may also be, you know, tokens in the beginning.
Sure.
But once they get their foot in the door, watch out. I feel like they don't know what they're up against. And also, so we have those wonderful, we have playwrights that now are writing on series. I know so many people that are writing on series that are, you know, Asian Pacific, everything. And
Asian diaspora.
That's it. Asian diaspora. And they don't always, put storylines in, but that just the fact that they're in their vision, I think it opens the door for everybody in the room to see more. If they're in a room with people that are all white like they are, they don't even imagine these things. But if they're in a room that's diverse and they have stories that are coming out that are diverse, it just, I think, gives me hope. Also, the talent pool that we have as actors, playwrights, and everybody is so huge.
It's so much bigger now.
Well,
so much.
But I think we've always been around. I think when people especially for me being Filipino,
right?
I think Filipino is kind of a new thing. Like I remember back in the day going to casting, they're like, "I'm sorry, what is Filipino?" I'm like,
right,
oh.
right.
Yeah, that didn't exist in the consciousness.
Yeah, and now of course Joe Coy and he's got his show. But but I think I just think that
it's very exciting.
It is very exciting
thinking about it. I mean, to see the last time I was in New York when there was still theater, there was like 5 or 6 plays. There was a ton of plays, and some of them in the same damn theater. And I was like, oh, should I go to that one or should I go to that one? I want to support everybody, but they're all at the same time, and they're all good shows. And it was such an exciting.
It's refreshing now.
Yeah,
it really is. I'll speak from I feel like I can see both sides. Like I'm kind of in the middle where there was a generation of actors and performers who were really grinding. And those were the people that I looked up to. These were like looking at their efforts and their struggle and what they did, what they made. That was our homework. That was our curriculum. And so we said, we have to be at least as good as them. Probably we have to be better because they're pretty awesome. And there were so few chances, but for us to prove ourselves, we have to work just as hard as them. And that was it, and that was our aspiration. And then enough of us survived, and now we're seeing all these young kids come up, and they don't have the same issues of being accepted as who they are now. And there's so many more opportunities. They are unashamed of who they are now, which is amazing, and which is fantastic. But I see them, and there's so many of these new faces, and it's scary, but it's also exciting because I think now we have a whole wider pool of people to show to fill in the gaps. Because before, like your generations, my generation too, it's like we had to be able to do everything,
right?
Because any given moment, we need an Asian that does this. Well, we had to be able to do that all the time, otherwise, no one was going to get the part,
right?
And now it's like, well, we need an Asian who can speak this or snowboard or do this or dance or something. And like, there's going to be one somewhere. Yeah. They just got to find them. But they do exist now.
Right.
Yeah. But I think that we've also been around for a long time, and like, I think more people that are outside of our world are like, wow, I had no idea there were so many Asian American actors. I'm like, well, we've been working our butts off for a freaking long time. Yeah. You're just seeing us now because we are getting these opportunities, and I think similar to Kanoa, like the calls that I get now, I'm like, wow. And it's probably because of the credits that I have now, but there are scripts that I read now, or series regulars, that they say Filipino, and I've never seen that before, and they're not nurses.
Right.
It's amazing.
Right.
No, but that's the thing, right? You're like, okay, it's gonna, I know I just played a nurse on Doogie and I loved it, but that's what you always see, though. You know what I mean? But yeah, I do think I'm half and half. Like, there are so many shows like Doogie that's doing a great job. Kanui Road's coming up. They just announced their cast and it looks wonderful. I mean, Never Have I Ever. You know what I mean?
Yes.
That one changed me. I cried when I first saw Never Have I Ever, just seeing those faces as those characters, those heartthrobs, those are the people I crushed on when I was a kid, you know what I mean? So yeah, I think there's movement, but there's still so much to do, right? So
when you look at execs in Hollywood or writers' rooms or whatnot, it seems like, because it's such a it's like swimming with sharks, right? And it's very much they're operating out of fear, so that's why they're very conservative. Is it because Marcus? Is it because of the streaming world that literally there's an explosion of series? You need to feed the beast. Is that why there's more opportunity now? Because they just need to, I mean, it's all about the algorithm now. It's all about Well,
we also are competing with Korea and Japan and China, and I mean Squid Game, which is great.
Right.
Yeah, I think audiences around the world are opening up to everybody else's culture now, and our
Mhm.
minds are so much more open to this.
Right.
So the fact that there can be content that is completely not in English with
Mhm.
all Asian actors can resonate with so many people. It's
It-
opening up
huge. Yeah.
minds, you know, and I think that's great. Like so many kids nowadays are into anime, right?
Mhm.
Back when we were young, anime was like something we did in secret,
Yeah.
right? But that was our exposure to
Mhm.
a lot of Asian culture. And now people know so much more than I do about a lot of things. And it's mind blowing, you know, but I think it's exciting.
Yeah.
But you know, geek culture in general now is so cool. Like, you
Yeah.
know, geeks have inherited the earth, man. I was born in the wrong
We were.
century.
I know. Oh, well, I mean, I'm enjoying watching it happen, but
Yeah.
at the same time, I'm like, oh, why didn't this happen when I was in my 20s?
Right.
Why do we have to work so hard?
But,
But-
you know, going back to
yeah.
Never Have I Ever,
Yes.
I mean, I think a large part of that is because Mindy
Exactly. So the
Mindy
people
Kaling,
who are
yeah.
in charge.
grinded,
Yeah.
Yeah.
grinded,
Yeah.
grinded,
Yeah.
and then once she got all that power, she's like, I'm gonna let my people go through.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
That's good. I mean, like, I mean, it's all about, you know, who's basically the decision makers, gatekeepers, you know, the creatives are, and
Right.
they're not just white, you know, like white people in a sense, you know, like it's like there's definitely that inclusion because it's
Right.
more authentic in a way. It's not,
Right.
you know, you see like, you know, when I was growing up watching network TV shows or whatnot, there's always the requisite Chinatown episode.
Oh yeah.
You know, like it's like you go to, it's like CSI and like, then it's to go to Chinatown or something.
Right.
And it's always like, you see the same faces.
Oh, yeah, that's-
yeah.
Well, still
that
exists, I
episode
think.
of each procedural gave like 50% of the actors
Right.
their job.
Right.
For the year.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, for you, for the panelists, like, what are your favorite shows or movies that you see now that you think is like, wow, this is like us being seen?
I mean, aside from Never Have I
Never
Ever.
have I ever. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, for me, growing up here in Hawaii, I loved Doogie. We were just talking about that, and I think just celebrating local culture. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And
Mhm.
like little things. What Jason Scott Lee said something about. Well, they had mentioned something about like going to Zippy's after the dance, you know, and that's such like a thing. Like first you have to
Yeah.
know what Zippy's is, but
Right,
they
right.
trusted that that's a thing that locals would
That
connect
somebody
to. Or
will get to.
yeah, or
somebody will
hey,
get.
it tastes better because I cut the Portuguese sauce like in you know diagonally. I'm like, yeah, it does make it taste better. Like
Mhm.
so that show, because I grew up watching the original, and now to
Mhm.
see not only a female lead, but you know a female lead here in Hawaii, that's kind of been a big deal for
Yeah.
me. And knowing that it's run by a female, you know,
Who
Asian American.
who grew up in
Yeah.
Hawaii for a while.
yeah.
Right?
So Courtney, and then I mean talking about executives, Courtney, Melvin, like that's you know the
Mhm.
reason why it's easy for them. It's a no brainer, you
Mhm.
know.
And they made a decision to do that.
Amy, I mean, you've again, you've like in your bio, you've played many grandmothers or motherly types
Yes.
when you were like even like in your 30s.
I mean,
I mean,
I've always been a
groundbreaking, yeah.
character actor.
Yeah.
Even, you know, doing theater.
Yeah.
I sort of enjoy being able to be somebody else.
Right. But like just the sea change of like All American Girl, which was, you know, came out in 94, I think.
Yes.
And that was like groundbreaking. And then that was all the pressure was on Margaret's
Yeah, poor
shoulders, right?
Margaret.
Margaret Show. Like
But she came out on top.
she came out on top.
Because
Yeah.
I think that taught her that she needed to, you know, run her own life.
Right.
That was the best
Yeah. So
choice.
I mean, just pounding the pavement, just being a character actor. What do you see opportunities now for? I mean, just like not only for you, but like, you know, I mean, like you look at like kind of like Tim said, all these actors and actresses that he looked up to, you know,
Right.
like it's like, and then there's now like this, see, you know, you see all these like young bucks coming up now,
Right.
but do you see like more opportunities for everyone?
Yeah. I mean, it's weird how my friends, they're all old, like I am. You know, Emily Kuroda was on Gilmore Girls.
Right.
and, You know, we
Yes.
walk around the reservoir in Silver Lake,
Yeah.
you know, because we want to stay mobile. And we're all like Francois Chow.
Yeah.
We're all like legacy actors
Right.
from the old days, and we're all working all the time.
That's
Emily's
great.
doing like play after play after play, and then
Yeah.
she just came back from the UK doing a Amazon Prime series.
Wow.
I know life is not bad,
Yeah.
but we walk around that reservoir going, I guess this is it. I guess we're done. We're just gonna do theater, maybe. I don't know. And then we're all working.
And then you're all,
Right.
Then we're all, you know, squads in Toronto doing whatever, and then we're all surprised at the longevity of our careers,
Mhm.
but we're doing what we love to do, and I
Mhm.
think we can still be counted on
Right.
to show up and
Yeah.
be mobile
Right.
and remember our lines.
Right.
Oftentimes I know my lines better than the young ones on our set.
Of course.
I was like, what's that? What am I saying? And I'm thinking, you have 4 lines.
Sorry, Amy. She's talking about me, everybody.
That's
Yeah.
right.
All right.
No.
I can't
Anyway.
wait to get into your position where
Okay.
I have your status of like veteran status.
Yeah.
Where like
but we
you're just
still-
jumping around and
But I do have to
working on
remind
projects.
myself, because sometimes it's easy to get, sort of like, for me, theater, still, I keep saying this, but in theater, I feel like I'm much more, involved when I'm creating a character or doing whatever. And when I'm doing television, I feel like sometimes they change stuff up on me. And I'm going, well, I created somebody and now you're doing this other thing, but I can change. Okay, I'll rationalize whatever you've done. So I get a little lazy. Don't tell anyone.
It's okay.
Don't
I think
tell anyone out
everybody
there.
is allowed
It's not
to be.
online or
Yeah.
anything.
That's a
Yeah.
secret.
I
Yeah.
could,
Yeah.
but I try not to do that because I
Sure.
see, I mean, especially young actors come on, they're guest stars and they work so hard.
They do.
They'll like be in the corner going, and then they go do their thing. And I'm thinking, wow, it's a lot of work. I should do that more often,
Yeah.
But
Mhm.
everybody has their own journey.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, let's tie it into basically Hawaii, right?
Yeah.
And working here in Hawaii, and maybe start off with "I Was a Simple Man." Kanoa, talk about and then
I
Tim.
love that.
Yeah, absolutely.
By
Like
the
this is
way.
our centerpiece presentation, shot in Hawaii, all entirely in Hawaii, written and directed by Christopher Yogi. And talk about that experience.
my
Maybe Tim, you
God.
go first, and then Kanoa can talk about coming from someone who's a kamaina, going back to make the movie.
Yeah, for sure.
So one of the things that I loved about Simple Man was that it was a story from Hawaiians about Hawaii, and I had not been to Hawaii since I was a little kid, so my relationship with Hawaii was very, very minimal. But
It's probably just in Waikiki, right?
yes,
Yeah,
pretty
yeah,
much. I mean,
yeah,
I think
yeah.
I was like 9 years old, so
Right,
like
right,
I barely had any relationship to Hawaii. But at the same time, because of everything that's going on, I was really, really aware that this was important for authentic voices to be heard. So what I loved was that like much of the crew and the department heads and everybody were from Hawaii or had roots in Hawaii, and I had to very much defer to them and listen to them and see what they had to say. But it also ended up being such a collaborative process. Like we all were free to kind of share our thoughts and our feelings. And one of the greatest things about this film was that Chris Yogi, who's the director, he kind of wrote it from a weird spiritual place, and he kind of painted this picture or created this piece of art, and he didn't know exactly what everything meant. And he gave us the freedom to fill in the gaps with our own interpretation. I mean, that's true art. And it was up to him to kind of like guide us and shape where we were going was the right direction. But we kind of all ended up tapping into something quite spiritual in terms of like feeling out what it means to be in Hawaii and to have a certain history with the islands. So yeah, Kanoa, do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, no, it's funny. I feel like, and every time we talk about the movie together, we always come back to that point, which is that like, well, first of all, Chris is like the least Hollywood person ever. Like he just doesn't give like a shit about any of that stuff, which is just the best. And yet still like going into this movie, like, I was super excited to get it. And I'm sure you were, Tim. Like it was like, his script was developed at the Sundance Lab. Like it had like a really awesome casting director in LA, and it was just like, it felt like it kind of had this like buzzy energy around it, but yet Chris himself, it's like, he just, you know, he cares about how he's feeling making it. And so I feel like that just inevitably transferred over to everybody involved. And like Tim was saying, it was like we all kind of adopted this same energy and spirit of just like giving into the unknown about what we were creating with Chris's guidance. But it was very like sort of hands-off direction from him. And so it was, you know, scary, vulnerable, all the things, but it was such a gratifying experience. And for me, like you're saying, Anderson, to be able to, you know, years later, like come home with a job, I mean, it's like, was the best. And at the same time, you know, it was great. We were all staying in Wailua on the North Shores where we shot the movie. And so I felt displaced. I didn't grow up over there, really.
Right. Are you a townie?
Yeah, I was definitely a townie.
Yeah.
Very much a townie, which is, I'm sure, why like I give off that energy. I'm sure that's why Chris wanted
replaying yourself.
Yeah, but you know, and so I felt kind of isolated up there. But then on days off, I would get to go in and see my family. So I mean, it was just such a like beautiful experience, and also just I feel so proud now that the movie's coming out, like to be a part of something that is like there's not a single white person in the cast, you know. And it's like it's so cool to just have a small part in that.
I will say one of my biggest fears about getting involved in this project really quickly was that because I wasn't from Hawaii and I was playing like, you know, kind of like a real local dude, I was like, how much do I talk like a Hawaiian? And I was really conscious of this. And I think working with Chris, it was very much like I don't have to really worry about playing a Hawaiian or playing at Hawaii. I just had to really kind of embody the conflict that a Hawaiian person was going at the time and just be true to myself, and it's all going to come out. And I think that was part of what made this story so great, was that, you know, it's really about the struggles that Hawaiians are going through and not about like, what do we sound like? What do we feel like? What do we, you know, what do we look like?
Add anything to that?
Oh, sure. I mean, I'm from Hawaii and I don't really have a pidgin accent or, but I think, you know, what I'm seeing kind of a change, and what I like to see more of actually with productions here in Hawaii is the difference, right, between what a Hawaiian person is and what it means to be from Hawaii.
Yes.
Because there's a difference. Yeah, and most people don't know that, you know. So I think even like before, like the shows were like, well, yeah, they just Asian American, they, you know, or they're from Hawaii, so you know, just put them on there and give them a Hawaiian name, it's going to be fine, you know. So I think I'd like to see kind of more of that. And I think we are starting to obviously shift that way again. Like I'll mention Kinui Road and all the shows that are coming up. And then also I think too, just being okay with naming us, like the ones that are not necessarily playing Hawaiian characters with our, you know, ethnicity or ethnic names, you know, like I don't have to have a name that sounds like a Hawaiian name for people to know that I'm in this world, because we have so many different cultures. So give me my colonized Spanish name, I guess, you know what I mean? Right. Like, or my whatever actual Filipino name, but you know, something that falls in that category. So, but yeah, there is a shift, but I think I'd like to see kind of more of that separation, so people can start to really recognize, because there's still people that have that question, you know, wait, aren't you Hawaiian? No, I'm from Hawaii, but isn't that the same thing? No, I'm 100% Filipino. You know, it's like, I don't get it. So now it's kind of our responsibility as more of these productions come through, more of these stories come through, to kind of have that happen.
Tim, you talked about like, you know, like when you're like, I would say like even 10 years ago or 5 years ago, like the Chinatown, I'm always going back to the Chinatown episode, right? Like it's like, and like,
sometimes,
you know,
it's the Koreatown episode
or the Koreatown episode, or
Filipino town.
Yeah, exactly. But it's coming totally.
It will come.
Yeah, but like, you know, you have Asian Americans or even Pacific Islanders, API, playing different ethnicities, right? You know,
Mhm.
you have like, I mean, I'm just throwing. This is not a. I mean, just like someone like Sung Kang would be playing Japanese dude or something, you know,
Right.
like or like whatnot, like you know. So is there a? I mean, now that there's more opportunities, there's more of a talent pool. You
Right.
know, is there like now in a sense because there's more for push of definitely a place at the table, but also providing that space for authenticity and
Right.
whatnot. You know, like for like an actual, you know, say person of this ethnic background actually playing that back.
I think that, you know, I believe that if like I'm half Japanese and half Finnish, and I never or hardly ever get to on stage. I've done Japanese
Right.
American.
Yeah.
I've been in a lot of camp plays,
Yeah.
which I still have to, you know, do a lot of research to get
Internment
to that
camp play.
internment
Okay,
camp.
sorry.
Yes.
I meant like
That's
Summer
right.
camp.
summer camp. Sorry.
Summer
Right.
camp. Well, you know, I'm from the generation that, you know, of theater,
We got it. Yeah.
the genre of Asian American theater. There's a lot of internment camp plays
Sure.
for years.
I've done a couple.
Right? A lot of them. But you know, I try to find different
Yeah.
things about because I don't have that experience in my toolbox.
Toolbox.
Yeah, that's the word.
Yeah.
Toolbox. But I've also played a lot of Koreans, a lot of Chinese, and I have people in my life that I use as a muse.
Mhm.
And here I'm playing well, now I'm Samoan, I think, maybe. I'm not sure. But I'm the cultural curator of this place. And I have people in my world that I use as role models, and I follow them around and try to understand. But it's the same thing. I'm Hawaiian in the show,
Mhm.
and I'm not going to, you know, put on a lot of different things because it's just not going to work.
Yeah.
So, because
It's
my people, yeah. So I just try to build a human
Yeah.
that's relatable, that, you know, and anyway. So what I think is important is if it's possible, I think it's good to have that background. I mean, I would love to play a Japanese woman who is an immigrant, and that's why I maybe do my solo shows, is that so I can create something from something I know deeply within me. And I think that's one thing. Sometimes it's hard to create stuff. You can, you know, be with people and try to see who they are and where they
Mhm.
come from. And I mean, at least I have some people in my life that I feel I can somehow suck up their energy and be who they are. But if you come from that, I mean, it's not the same.
Mm.
You know, that growing up in that smell and that sounds and the everything, it's just not the same. So if we can incorporate that, I think it's great.
Yeah, and honestly, like I think too, if someone's writing a role
Right.
and they happen to have a certain name or whatever, if that role doesn't, like if you haven't written it so that it is heavily part of that culture, and like what, just change it.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
What's the problem with just
Right.
changing it? Like our
Right.
friend Rodney Toe, he was recurring as the doctor in Wilfred. He's Filipino.
Right.
And they, you know, had kind of said like, well, we want Rodney. And, you know, someone in the room was like, but we wrote this, his last name is O'Brien. The doctor's last name is O'Brien. He's like, then change the name. You know what I
Right.
mean? What's the big deal? Like you didn't
Right.
write this as an Irish doctor, did you? No,
No.
it's just a doctor. It's just a
And then
person.
you can get more specific based on who he is. You can also
Yeah.
get more specific or not.
If it's not like, why can't we just erase, you know, just not autocorrect, but you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Backspace, just
Yeah,
fill
yeah,
in
yeah,
a different
yeah.
name.
Yeah.
So,
Exactly. I mean, this is a question too. I mean, also are we getting questions from the audience at all? Like it's like you can if you haven't asked any questions. Oh,
Oh, there
There
we
you
go.
go.
if you haven't asked any questions, you can just add it to the comment section, Facebook Live or YouTube. What's one learning experience that happened on your actor's journey that you weren't fully prepared for?
I think one of the things that I ended up learning was how much a benefit failure is. I learned so much from failure, and I didn't realize that until I was an adult, because I grew up to be like, make sure that I was perfect all the time and had to be A+ on all my tests, etc. But there's no way that you can do that in life. And especially in the entertainment industry, there's no one way to do it. So for me, I found out that sometimes you just have to try and fail, and it will be hard. But I think the experience that you get from it is invaluable.
I have to say, I think this is maybe so racist, but I think
Hold on, take a breath.
Yeah.
Think about it for a second.
Americans, Asian Pacific Islanders, we grow up doing more work than anybody else, trying harder. Maybe just people of color. You know, we come to set prepared. We don't have any sense of entitlement because we're just like grateful to be there.
Yeah.
We have our lines. We know where our marks are. We know we come early. Generally, we're never late.
Generally.
Yeah, I know. Mostly, I think they're always like, God, you're here, and I'm like, yeah, you know, in case I get lost or can't find parking, I'm always early. And so,
Same.
you know, I think it's a bonus when they cast us.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know about these young bucks now.
I don't know
They
about
don't-
the
they
young
don't-
Maybe an age thing.
Here's an
I
age
don't know,
thing.
maybe.
There is.
Yeah. I think for me, what's one learning experience that happened? With Saigon, I didn't realize I was a Kim understudy when I booked the job.
Oh,
if
dear.
you don't know,
you were- okay,
yeah,
got
I
it,
didn't know
yeah.
anything, guys.
Yeah.
Let's just like that. I wasn't prepared for this business at all. But if you don't know Miss Saigon, you know, it's based in the Vietnam War, and Kim is the female lead. So I didn't know I was a Kim understudy until one of the playbills came out, because you get a different playbill for every city you go to. And one of the ensemble members, she goes, "You're a Kim understudy?" I was like, "I am." And they brought me for a sing through. I was awful. I mean, I didn't open my eyes. I was like singing like this in the corner. You know what I mean? The Chris in the rehearsal was like 20 years older than me. And I'm like, I'm supposed to, like, I haven't had a real kiss before. Like, I'm supposed to, like, what is going on? And I'm like shaking. I'm like, I still believe. So that was something I wasn't prepared for, but it did teach me so much. You know what I mean? Like, I could have taken that experience and been like, that's it, I'm done. That was super traumatic, which it was, but that gave me the mindset of just like, I got to do something else. Like, clearly somebody else believed in me. Like, they liked my voice, they liked my look, so they know I can do it. I just need to believe that I can do it. So that, not being prepared for that, it was a huge learning experience. It just made me, you know, just drove me to just be better, just keep doing better. So yeah.
You know, I mean, just going back to Hawaii, and maybe this is for Kanoa and Kimi, like, I mean, you look at like now that production doesn't necessarily have to be in LA or New York. You see these hubs like Atlanta, right? Like, or of course, Canada, Vancouver, just runaway productions, you know, like, and whatnot. Or you look at even like Albuquerque, you know, like Breaking Bad and whatnot, and Austin, maybe, you know, definitely. Like, where do you, I mean, this is more of a kind of business development, you know, kind of question, but what is your kind of like ideal goal or dreams of kind of like working more sustainably in Hawaii? I mean, Kimi, you've got Tiny Stage, you do the Comedy Fest, you're cultivating talent, you're actually nurturing talent, right?
I'm crazy.
So, yeah, well, I mean,
Thank you.
yes, but like, but
He's like, yeah, you are.
yeah, that's a compliment though. But you know, like, but you know, where do you see, you know, like, as more and more productions being made, you have like kind of like these great indie filmmakers are kind of like really talented indie filmmakers working in Hawaii today, right? But they're also looking at production, like major productions like HBO Max shows and network TV shows, and all the alchemy. Where do you see kind of the ideal kind of universe when it comes to an actor from Hawaii? You know, like, so.
Yeah. So I think for me, I think two things. One, there are a lot of actors here in Hawaii that have already been, you know, we were talking about Moses Goods, right? Who we've known for a really long time. He's currently recurring on NCIS as the father, as Wally. He's fantastic. So he's been around a long time. So I think we have, what I'd like to see is for productions to start looking at our Hawaii-based actors as professional.
Mhm.
Not just like, oh, they're in Hawaii, so they're probably not, they're probably okay. We actually do have a pool of folks who have not only born and raised here and have been doing work here in our community theater circuit, or even on their own. I mean, Moses has taken his shows.
Right.
He's a playwright, he's taken his shows all over.
He's brilliant.
But to see us as professional and not kind of just play it down as if just because we're located here
Mhm.
that we don't have the skills or we aren't valuable.
Right.
So that's, I think, the first part, what I'd like to see. And then the second thing is for our actors here who are really wanting to do it, or a community here that really wants to get this done, is to really focus on the training.
Mhm.
I think, I hate to say this, but because before there used to be such a small pool of actors to pick from when
Right.
we're especially like a co-star role, right? So, in all honesty, it's a little easier to book a co-star here in Hawaii than it would be in Los Angeles. We would do co-star roles, auditions all the time and not book it, like, hey, nice car. Not, I don't get it. You know what I mean? Like, but here, because the pool is so small, it's easier to get it. And I think people get spoiled and think that's just the way it is. So I'd like for our community to get a little bit more serious about it.
Yeah.
So that when those opportunities come, they can't be like, oh, we were right. You know what I mean? This is what this is what a local actor is. So I think that there's two parts to it. But I don't know, Kanoa, what do you think?
Oh gosh, as someone who's no longer there, I hope that it just continues to grow and keeps popping off over there. It's so that I can continue to have opportunities to come home and work. And also just to employ all of the like people of Hawaii. I think it's amazing. And I also think, in terms of, I hope that filmmakers like Chris Yogi continue to get a platform to create and be elevated to and get more visibility, which I know, for something like I Was a Simple Man, it's not Chris's first movie, but and we've talked a little bit, but I can only imagine what this moment of having a film at Sundance this year is, it's got to just be huge for his life and his career. And so I think that, and I know he's really passionate about those opportunities being there and available for other local filmmakers. But yeah, I think it's great. I think I just was home the last month doing an episode of the new NCIS Hawaii. It was great to come home, and obviously, that's a very specific type of show and depiction of the island. But so I hope that it all, with the rise of Hollywood in Hawaii, I hope that also the smaller productions continue to get their time and their voice.
For sure. Yeah.
Has anyone seen White Lotus?
Yes. Loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of controversy with it too.
True.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. But do you, I thought, I liked it too. It doesn't have to be all, the controversy.
Just say it, Anderson. What do you want to say, Anderson?
No.
Just say it.
I want people to see it.
Did you?
I want people
he's
to see it.
He's framing me. He's like, so what do you think? I liked it, right? But right? Yeah.
No, I actually want people to see it. So, I actually think it's interesting to see, this type of series made in Hawaii. Again, a lot of the issues are it's very white centric. The staff. Yeah, exactly.
Right. Yeah. I think again we have a lot of work to do, right? And when you were kind of mentioned in the first question, do you think it's kind of oh, we're going to throw this person in there? Because Jolene Purdy, who's fantastic, and I wanted to see more of her. We saw her in the first episode, and then never again. So
that was weird.
I thought that was so interesting too. She's great.
Yeah,
I'm such
amazing.
a fan of hers. So I think that's a great show. I enjoyed it. I loved it. I was addicted to it. But yeah, I think that's one that we have to look at. Okay, we could have worked harder. And I don't know, but we know that there's a lot of things that happen behind the scenes, as long as I think if people who are making these decisions are doing the work, did you actually do the work to seek someone out that could maybe fit this story or this picture better, than that. And maybe they did. I hope they did. And that's what happened. But yeah, I think that's just an example of we could, there's still more work to do.
Yeah, I mean, I also see it as because they were all bubble quarantine. Of course, the Grand Wailea for
Not bad.
not bad, right?
Yeah, right.
It's kind of like Ocean's 11. Like they
Yeah.
all kind of like just hung out in Vegas and had a good time.
Yeah,
right.
But I mean, basically, bottom line is like, I think we just need to have more filmmakers, creatives to create the film and TV to employ API actors or
Mhm.
BIPOC actors in general, right?
And
So,
production too.
yeah.
I think a lot of, for our crew and heads, the department heads. I
Mhm.
mean, I think that's another thing that happens is people see, because they're going to give input of like how someone looks, how someone dresses, how
Yeah.
like maybe
Mhm.
correction on like our pidgin language even.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So yeah, I think also trusting that, hey, just because again it's considered a small town or a small island,
Sure.
these people have been working for a long time. I mean, since before Lost, that was a long time ago.
Yeah.
So
That's true.
they know
Lost.
their shit.
That
Yeah.
was a thing for a while.
So-
Since the
yeah.
first Magnum PI.
Yeah,
Oh,
Jake
God.
and,
The
first
Jake and
Hawaii
the Fat
Five-O.
Man even.
Yeah.
Oh my
I
gosh.
didn't even watch those. I didn't have.
TV.
No, I lived.
She was
that
too busy
when
doing
I
her
lived in
theater.
She was
Japan.
working.
She was
Yeah,
in
she was
Japan,
too
yeah,
busy
yeah,
I
working.
didn't have
Yeah.
this stuff. Yeah,
Yeah,
I didn't
yeah.
have those DVRs then.
Mhm.
Or-
But I mean, just in closing remarks, like we're very excited to screen "I Was a Simple Man."
Watch it,
tonight.
watch it,
Yeah,
watch it.
too. Yeah, exactly. So, and it's also actually, I can make an announcement. It's going to be released theatrically.
Yes.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Yeah, it's going to be released
Wow,
theatrically
congratulations.
here in Hollyood theaters. Or actually, theaters in Hawaii, starting next weekend,
Oh no!
Yeah.
You heard
and
it
also
here first.
platform release across the country too.
Yep.
Whoa,
Yeah.
that's great.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I think
yeah,
we
sure.
opened. I think right. It was New York next
York.
week.
Yeah.
I think
Nice.
this weekend.
This weekend.
then-
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
And then LA like 2 weeks after that. I
2
think.
weeks from now. Yeah,
that's
yeah,
so
yeah,
great.
yeah. So hopefully, again, you look at Crazy Rich Asians. How is it such a milestone? It's because people bought tickets.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's the bottom line.
Yeah, watch these
Yeah,
shows.
yeah.
It's important.
Well, yeah,
Everyone, watch these
is
shows, buy tickets, tell
Gold
people.
House helping out, or is
Mhm.
there some kind of thing that's going on that
There is a movement.
good? Because all the movies need to try really hard. Because I know that Shang-Chi had a
Crushed
huge
it.
movement.
Yeah, it's big. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Although that was Marvel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, that was directed
Kinda
by
easy to-
Destin Daniel Cretton from
Yes.
I
Maui.
know,
So-
Maui.
Yeah, Maui boy.
We are so. This
Yeah.
is amazing.
Yeah.
This is our time.
Let's go.
Let's go. So again, thank you again, everyone, for joining us in this actor's journey. I was kind of just, I don't know, it was very free flowing.
It was.
I love
It
it.
was like jazz.
That was so
Yeah.
much fun. Yeah, thank you.
But
everybody.
but I really appreciate you guys being a part of this panel, and this is part of one of like 16 or 17 free Hiff talks that we're having in person, but mostly online. So if you want to know more about Hiff, just go to hiff.org. That's our website, and the festival is still happening. In-person screenings on Oahu are happening till November 14th. We have I Was a Simple Man and also Closing Night Film Bell playing at the Ward Theater, but the hub of the festival in person is at the newly renovated Kansai Kahala theaters. And afterwards, we also have Neighbor Island screenings in person on Maui, Kauai, and the Big Island. We also have online virtual. 86% of the program is available nationwide. Just go to hiff.org to buy your tickets and watch these films on demand. And we're also exploring other stuff too. We also have an XR showcase, which is completely free, VR, AR, and whatnot. That's happening next week from the 18th to the 19th to the 21st. Okay, get my dates straight.
There's so
But
many
like,
things going on.
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, I'm just a carnival
I know.
barker. I'm a carnival barker, car salesman. But again, these are all great stuff that we have as part of the festival, and we're all about celebrating not only cinema but creative content in general, and also from the Asia Pacific Rim, especially from Hawaii, Pacific, North America, you name it. So again, thank you for attending, and we hope to see you soon. Mahalo.
Mahalo.
Bye,
Bye,
guys.
everybody. Thank you.
Bye.